It happened during the last weekend of August, the kind of weekend where the air smells faintly of dying grass and burnt charcoal, and everyone's trying to squeeze one final memory out of summer before the chill of September creeps in. I was 17 that year, spending my last summer before college working as a junior counselor at Camp Wrenwood, a half-forgotten children's camp tucked deep in the pine woods of northern Maine. The place was old. You could tell by the creak through the cracks in the boards, like the forest itself was whispering secrets. By the end of August, most of the kids had gone home. Only 6 of us counselors remained. Me, my best friend Liam, 2 girls named Mara and Jess, our head counselor Tom, and the camp nurse, Ellen. We were there to pack up the supplies, clean the bunks, and close up the place until the next summer. It was supposed to be boring, but that last night, something came through the woods, something that didn't want Camp Wrenwood to close. The legend of the Hollow Boy. It started with a story, or maybe a dare. We were sitting around the campfire after dark, roasting the last marshmallows, trying to outdo each other with scary stories. Mara told one about a drowned camper who still haunted the lake. Tom told a gruesome story about a hermit who used to eat animals raw and vanished one winter, leaving only bloody footprints. Then Liam leaned in, eyes gleaming, and said, "You ever hear about the Hollow Boy?" None of us had. Liam said it like it was common knowledge, like everyone who had ever worked here should have known it. He said the Hollow Boy was the reason Camp Wrenwood had closed down for 10 years back in the 90s. He'd read about it in some local paper, he claimed. He was a kid, about 12, Liam said. Died in the woods after getting lost during a thunderstorm. They never found his body, but campers started seeing him. Said he'd stand just at the edge of the trees, silent, face white as paper, and when they'd called out to him, he'd tilt his head and whisper their name in their own voice. Jess rolled her eyes. "So a ghost story. Big deal." Liam grinned. "It's not just a ghost story. They called him the Hollow Boy because when someone went missing, they'd find an empty skin, like literally a hollow shell of that person. The police thought it was animals, but people said it was him. He'd wear the skins to look human again." The fire crackled. Even Tom looked uncomfortable. "All right," he said, trying to laugh it off. "That's enough ghost stories. We've got work in the morning." But the woods had gone silent. No crickets, no owls, just the soft hiss of the fire and the faint rustling of pine needles in the dark. And somewhere behind us, something moved. Something in the trees. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that story, about the idea of something just standing out there, right beyond the tree line, waiting. Around 2 a.m., I got up to get some water. The cabins were pitch dark except for the dim moonlight spilling through the cracks. I could hear the wind, a slow moaning whistle that made the wooden planks creak. As I stepped outside, the air was colder than it should have been. The fog was thick, crawling between the trees like fingers. Then I saw it. Something white moved at the edge of the woods, pale, child-sized, still. At first, I thought it was one of the others playing a prank, but it didn't move like a person. Its head turned too slowly, like it was struggling to remember how to move at all. Then it tilted its head, the exact way Liam had described, and whispered, "Evan." My name, in my own voice. I stumbled back, heart slamming in my chest, and ran for the cabin. When I burst in, everyone was asleep except Liam, who was sitting up in bed, pale and sweating. Before I could say a word, he said, "You saw him too, didn't you?" The missing counselor. By morning, Jess was gone. Her bed was neatly made, phone and bag were still there, but she was nowhere in camp. Tom thought maybe she'd gone for an early walk, but her sneakers were still by the door. We searched the lake, the trails, the mess hall, nothing. Ellen radioed the nearest ranger station, but they said no one could get to us until late afternoon. That's when Mara found something near the woods. At first I thought it was a wet tarp, half buried in leaves. Then she screamed. It was skin, pale, empty, and torn open at the back like something had climbed out of it. It looked like Jess. Her face was frozen in a silent scream, her hair still attached, her eyes hollow. We all lost it. Tom tried to keep everyone calm, but even he was shaking. Ellen locked us in the mess hall and said no one was leaving until the Rangers arrived. But outside, we could hear footsteps, small ones, running circles around the building. And then, a voice.
Jess's voice. Soft. Laughing. "Guys, it's okay. Come outside." Mara started crying. Liam backed away from the door, whispering that this wasn't happening, that it was just some twisted prank, but I could see his hands shaking. Then something hit the window, hard. We all turned. Jess's face was pressed against the glass, but her eyes were black holes, and her mouth stretched into a grin that didn't look human anymore. When Tom raised his flashlight, the thing was gone. The last campfire. The radio died an hour later. No signal, no response. We decided to stay together in one cabin until the Rangers came. We pushed furniture against the doors, nailed the windows shut. The forest was alive with movement, whispers, footsteps, and the faint sound of laughter that wasn't quite right. At sunset, the temperature dropped fast. The campfire from the night before was still smoldering in the pit outside, and Tom said we needed light to keep whatever it was away. So we relit the fire. We sat around it, shivering, not speaking. The flames flickered, throwing shadows across our faces. The air smelled like iron, like blood. Mara suddenly stood up. "Do you hear that?" It was faint, but yes, there was music, a faint humming, like a child's lullaby drifting from the woods. Then we saw her. Jess, standing just beyond the firelight, head tilted, her skin shining pale in the dark. "Come with me," she whispered. "It doesn't hurt anymore." Liam jumped up, shouting for her to stop. Tom grabbed him, but Liam broke free and ran straight into the trees. We never saw him again. The hollow boy appears. Hours passed. The fire burned low. Mara had stopped talking completely. She just sat there, rocking, whispering, "It's not real, it's not real." Tom and I tried to stay awake, but exhaustion hit hard. Sometime around dawn, I drifted off. When I woke, the fire was out and Mara was gone. Only Tom and I remained. We searched the camp again, though neither of us wanted to. The fog was thicker now, swallowing everything beyond a few feet. The forest smelled rotten. We found Mara's flashlight by the lake. Next to it, another hollow shell, this one smaller. And standing beside it was a boy. He couldn't have been older than 12, skin pale, eyes gray, clothes torn and soaked with mud. "Are you okay?" Tom asked, voice trembling. The boy tilted his head. "I'm cold." Then he smiled, and his jaw split open far too wide. When he spoke again, it was in Liam's voice. "It's warmer here, in the dark." Tom screamed and fired the flare gun straight at him. The boy's face twisted in a way that made my stomach turn, and he collapsed into the dirt, not bleeding, not dying, just sinking, like the earth was swallowing him whole. The escape. Tom and I ran. We didn't pack anything. We didn't look back. We followed the road through the trees for what felt like hours. The fog never lifted. Every few minutes we'd hear footsteps behind us, light, quick, like a child running barefoot. At one point, I glanced back and saw small handprints appearing in the mud behind us, fresh ones, though there was no one there. By the time we reached the ranger station, Tom was gone too. I didn't hear him scream. One second he was beside me, the next there was just a noise, a wet tearing sound, and he was gone. I ran the last mile alone. When I finally burst into the ranger station, they said I was pale as a ghost, covered in dirt and scratches, rambling about hollow people. They searched Camp Wrenwood that day. They found 4 empty skins and 1 body, Ellen, the nurse, torn open near the mess hall. They never found Liam, Jess, Mara, or Tom, and they never found the boy. The Return. Camp Wrenwood was closed permanently after that. They boarded it up, posted signs, let the forest take it back. For years I told myself it wasn't real, that maybe it was a hallucination, a trauma response, that what I saw wasn't possible. But last week, I got a letter. No return address, just my name, written in a child's messy handwriting. Inside was a photo, an old one. It showed me and Liam at camp, standing by the lake. Only in the background, between the trees, there was someone else. A boy. Gray skin, blank eyes, and written on the back in my own handwriting, "See you next summer."